Welcome to Mortgage Talk 101 here on Super Talk 1270. Time to look behind the numbers. Buying, selling, refinancing. Mortgage Talk 101 addresses real issues in real estate. Now, live from the Super Talk 1270 studios, here's Mortgage Talk 101 host, Joe Sheehan.
Good morning, Bismarck Mandan. And once again, I am not Joe Sheehan.
I was going to say.
No, I don't have long enough hair for that.
No.
Dave Floor here, Mr. Housing, as Joe likes to call me, and Jim Walsh.
Hello.
We're going to see what we got today. Joe got called away on a special assignment, I believe. Special
assignment?
Yeah, I think his boss said we got to have a meeting.
Okay.
Like a corporate thing, so he didn't have much choice.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, he didn't set the time of the meeting, put it that way.
All righty.
So he gets to do it. Okay. All right, we're going to talk some mortgages today. We'll see what we do. Jim and I might veer off topic occasionally. You never know.
We're going to do a musical tribute to a couple of guys who we lost this week. Ian McLaren, I think his name is.
McLaughlin.
Ian, yeah.
He was a
keyboardist for Rod Stewart's old group, Faces.
Yes, and
then Bobby Keys, great saxophone player. He was the in-house sax player for the Rolling Stones,
yes,
which should tell you all you need to know about the man's talent.
The guy could play.
He was the guy who played the sax solo on Brown Sugar,
which
we will get to a little bit later.
Everybody knows.
Yeah.
If you hear it, and I'm sure most people don't know who played that sax on that
a guy
song.
named Bobby Keys.
Bobby Keys.
And he passed away this week. He was 70. He started out in Texas. Yeah. He grew up in the same neighborhood as Buddy Holly. And he knew Buddy Holly. He was a couple of years younger than Buddy.
Yeah.
And he would hang out with Buddy at Buddy's garage when, if you saw the movie, they used to jam in his garage. And that part was real, apparently.
Okay.
And this Bobby Keys used to hang out in Buddy's garage when he was getting the Crickets together.
All right. Here it is, Jim Walsh. What is it? The
Walking College of Rock and Roll Knowledge.
There we
go. A little fiction and fact from Uncle Jimbo's Almanac.
Okay, there we go. Very good, Jim.
Thank you. I used to be a DJ. I used to do. Well, I am a DJ.
Well, you are a DJ.
I'm a DJ again. Yes.
Yeah.
Doing mornings on 98.7.
Yeah. All right. Cool.
And I'm
everybody
feeling very tired.
Listen to Jim in the morning.
Thank you.
And Jim's been up since, he tells me, about 4:30.
About 4:30
every day.
Yeah.
He's doing the morning show. So please listen to him. He's getting up early for us, working hard.
Yeah, today we talked about the moose that got shot.
They
had to shoot that moose that was wandering around Mandan.
Yeah,
and that was kind of a bummer.
Yeah, and you had your own civics test earlier in the week.
Right. Who was president when Lincoln freed the slaves?
Lincoln.
Wow, you're good.
Thank you, Jim.
Damn.
Thank you.
I am impressed.
He prepped me ahead of time, folks.
Who is buried in Grant's tomb? Now that's a trick question, because the actual correct answer is Grant and his wife.
Ah. Okay, now that I did not know.
Yeah, see?
Okay, well, she was Mrs. Grant.
Yeah,
okay.
That was a great Jeopardy question. He's buried at Grant's tomb.
So maybe later on you'll throw me one of your other questions.
Yeah, he's buried at Graceland.
That would be Elvis.
I'll be Elvis.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, folks, let's talk mortgages. Mortgage Talk 101. It's a sunny day in Mortgageville. So let's talk about rates, which went down. That should put a smile on everybody's face from last week. The Freddie Mac survey came out this morning. This looks at mortgage rates for the last week. The 30-year fixed-rate mortgage averaged 3.89% for the week ending December 4th, which is today. Down from last week when it averaged 3.97, so a nice little bump down. The 15-year mortgage rate averaged 3.1%. Down last week from 3.17. A year ago at this time, the 30-year was at 4.46. So we are well below that.
By the way, is Joe supposed to call today?
No, Joe's not going to call.
No, Joe's not going to call.
He's in the meeting.
Okay. A big old meeting.
Meeting. That's what he told me. It started at 11. So
Thursday, go to meeting.
Yeah, Thursday, come to meeting. You betcha. Okay, and what should you be doing? Mortgage or MBS Highway says this morning, stocks were lower, mortgage bonds are trading near unchanged levels. Initial jobless claims for the week were reported at 297,000. This was still that was higher than expected of 295, but represented a drop of 17,000 from last week's number. So this was a good number. It's below 300,000. Those are initial jobless claims. So those are people walking into the jobless office or the job office for the first time to file a claim. Let's see what else we got coming up this week. We have the employment jobs report from the Bureau of Labor Statistics will be coming out on Friday. They are looking for, 230,000 new jobs and an unemployment rate of 5.8.
Yeah.
Last month's number was 214,000 and 5.8% unemployment rate. So, MBS Highway, our friend Barry Habib is advising floating. If you're looking at locking in your interest rate, float ahead of tomorrow's jobs reports. Estimates are at 230K, but they have climbed to 250K, setting the bar high. So we'll see what happens with interest rates. But
let me grab a phone call here. Hi, Super Talk 1270. Hello.
Hello.
Yeah.
Yes.
I thought you were Joe, maybe.
Interesting conversation you two were having. Just wanted you to know that I had the privilege of listening in.
Okay.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. Okay. I guess he's a Bobby Keys fan.
Bobby Keys, yeah.
Oh,
absolutely.
cool.
Or Ian McLaughlin. Either one. They were two great bands.
I wonder if they ever worked together. They may have.
Chances are they probably
They
probably jammed somewhere
down
the road, I would guess, if I had to venture. Yeah. All right. Let's see what else we got. Our friend Elliot Eisenberg from craftsandlaughs.net. We always find something interesting that Elliot
the eyes guy.
And you know what? I had this out, Jim, and we're going to stick with the music theme here.
Okay.
Just for fun. Elliot is an economist, but we usually talk about, stuff with him. But he had a fun one last Friday about music.
Oh.
So this kind of fits right in. 77% of all revenue from recorded music goes to the top 1% of bands and solo artists. The 10 best-selling tracks now generated 82% more sales than 10 years ago, while the top 10 songs received twice the airtime today than in 2004.
Okay.
7 of the 10 most popular songs of all time are released after 2004. In short, top hits are more popular and lucrative than ever.
Huh.
So that makes it hard. I mean, that's a big thing about new bands being able to get in and crack the business, and that kind of shows you that's probably kind of tough to do these days, especially because we don't sell albums anymore.
Yeah.
It's all selling individual stuff. So, all right, I guess it's break time. We're going out on, I like this one, The Faces, I Know I'm Losing You.
Yeah, cover of the old Temptations.
But please, we don't want to lose you folks. Come back after the break.
I can feel it in my bones. Any day you'll be gone.
Right now, 10 above.
Get the app called Radio Pup for your iPhone and take us everywhere you go. Bismarck and Mandan's own Super Talk 1270.
All right, back with Mortgage Talk 101. Dave Floor here with Jim Walsh. Joe's out on at a high-level meeting.
On assignment.
And we got
a likely story.
We got Bobby Keys on the saxophone with the Rolling Stones. Bobby Keys passed away this week.
Yeah,
71
great
years
Bobby
old.
Keys from Texas.
Used to play with Buddy Holly.
Yeah, grew up right down the street from Buddy Holly in Lubbock.
Cool. All right.
And he would hang out in the garage when the early Crickets were getting their chops together.
Yeah.
And that inspired him to play the sax.
Yeah. Would have been nice to have Buddy Holly around until now, wouldn't it?
Oh, God.
See what he would have came up with? Yeah, that would have been good. All right, well, we're here, Mortgage Talk 101. If you got any questions for us, feel free to call in, 663-1270. Jim, what's a bigger hurdle for borrowers, down payments or debt? What do you think?
Well, good question. Obviously, the more you have of the one, the less you have to worry about the other.
Okay. Well, somebody wrote an article about that. How about that? Wouldn't you know it?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course they do. Where this came from, the Mortgage Professional America magazine. For borrowers without any additional debt, monthly house payments are affordable in more than 90% of U.S. housing markets, whether they make a 20% down payment or a 3% down payment. So if you don't have any debt, you're in pretty good shape. You can afford to buy a home. You could there's options out there for low down payments and that.
Yeah.
So debt certainly makes a difference. Borrowers with non-mortgage debts, such as student loans and car payments, their monthly house payments are affordable in less than half of U.S. housing markets with a 3% down payment. Okay. It goes on to say that there's assistance programs, where I work at North Dakota Housing Finance Agency, we have down payment and closing cost assistance programs. Most people are unaware of these resources. And about 50% of renters feel that's what they're going to do, and they say affording the down payment and closing costs is the biggest obstacle to buying a home. Across all markets analyzed, borrowers without debt would have to save up for at least 12 and a half years to afford a 20% down payment at the current annual savings rate of 5.6%. It takes a long time. Joe and I have talked about this before. Now, it would take an average of less than 2 years to save up for a 3% down payment across all the markets. For borrowers without the additional debt of student loans and car payments, monthly house payments are still affordable in 92% of all housing markets with just a 3% down payment. However, if you have average monthly debt, student loan debt $280, car payment $400, putting just 3% down means mortgages are affordable in less than 48% of all county housing markets nationwide. So actually, it's both, Jim. It's both a problem, down payments and debt, but definitely the debt plays a role, and that only stands to reason, I think, that it would. So the thing to remember out there if you're thinking about buying a home for the first time is that there are down payment closing cost assistance available. There are low down payment loans available, so you don't need 20%. And, it's go in and talk to a lender about this sort of thing, and you don't need to wait 12 and a half years to save up for the 20% down payment. If you can do it, that's a great idea. Obviously, the more equity you have in the house, the better it is.
Yeah.
But you don't have to. And certainly if you think it would be cheaper than renting where you're at, that might be a good option for you.
When do you start getting concerned that it's becoming too easy for people to buy a house? Because that's obviously what got us into trouble the last couple of times.
Yeah, well, it's a good question, Jim, and that certainly was one of the factors in it. Now, I think a lot of people would say that 10 years ago, there were loans out there where you basically they called them no doc, no income, no stated income loans.
Yeah,
and you say, well, I work as a gardener and I make $100,000 a year, and okay, that's fine. You're agreeing. You sign off on that. And
as a gardener.
As a gardener, I'm making $100,000 a year, and you didn't have to prove what your income was.
Oh, okay.
And they would give you the loan. And that's
rock and roll banking.
Yeah, and you can't do that anymore.
No,
that's not going to happen.
Yeah, it's probably not a good idea to be that loose about.
No, that's not happening today. No, is the lower the down payment you have on your house, if something happens, your furnace breaks down, your car breaks down, medical emergency or something like that happens. Right. It becomes more difficult if that whatever happens extends over a longer term.
Yeah.
And you would have to sell your house. Say you got laid off from your job and you wanted to move somewhere. You had to move somewhere else to get a new job. The less equity you have in your house, obviously, the harder it is to sell that house.
Same with a car.
And same thing with a car.
Yeah.
So that's the danger of a low down payment. But if you're relatively sure, hey, you got a good secure job, and this is the community you want to live in and stay there, it's maybe it's okay then. It's definitely an individual decision, and you shouldn't do it without talking to people about it. Talk to a realtor, talk to a lender about it.
Yeah,
so, yeah.
Don't try to do it all yourself.
No, don't figure out. There's lots of education.
And we're not saying this because we're doing a commercial for anybody.
No, there's a lot of education out there that you can get on buying a home.
There are
what
resources,
is better, and what the things to think about renting versus home owning. So
do your own research.
Okay. No, well, just to fly right into that, I was going to talk about this throughout the show, but we've got 7 things that the middle class can't afford anymore. Okay. Let alone buying a house might be one of them, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Other things that people would have to do if they wanted to save up to buy a house, this may be things that they'd have to give up on in order to do that. And this comes from the Tyler Durden at Zero Hedge, and actually this appeared in the USA Today. This article. Bill Maher from HBO. Came up with this. He said that 50 years ago, the largest employer was, who do you think the largest employer was 50 years ago in this country, Jim?
50 years ago, the largest employer?
Largest employer.
That would be the 60s. I'm going to say General Motors.
You are absolutely correct, folks.
Whoa, okay.
And we did not do this ahead of time. That was Jim nailed it.
Off the top of my head, the first name that popped in my
the
mind.
workers there earned an equivalent of $50 per hour in today's money.
Oh,
so those were, you worked at General Motors.
$60,000 a year in today's money.
If you worked at General Motors, Ford, Chrysler, you were considered a middle class person.
Yeah, like the old Bob Seger song when we were making Thunderbirds.
Exactly. Yeah. You were considered middle class. Today, the largest employer is?
I'm going to say the government.
No. A private employer. The largest private employer. I don't know if the government's larger or not.
Walmart
is exactly right. What does Walmart pay on average per hour?
I know it ain't no $60 an hour.
No, it's $8 per hour.
Yeah.
So the middle class has kind of changed.
It has.
Yeah. Okay. So anyway, what they went on here is things that people can't afford. The middle class cannot afford anymore. Vacations.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you wanted to save up to buy a house, you wanted to save up 20% or even 10%, you might have to forego your vacation for a little while.
Think of how that would affect a place like Florida, where so much of the industry is tourism.
Yeah, Florida, Vegas.
Las Vegas, California.
Yeah.
How many people can no longer afford to go to Disneyland every couple of years?
Absolutely. And even you got to think about, if you want to go on a vacation, that you got to think about and save for a house. You wanted those things. There's other little things that you have to give up. Your direct TV, going out to movies, eating out at restaurants, etc. Another thing middle class can't afford anymore: new vehicles.
New cars.
They say very few people earn the median income and can afford to buy a new car or truck.
A lot of people buying used cars and keeping them fixed up.
The benefit to buying a used car these days is the cars have gotten so much better. And if you can find a car that's got under 100,000 miles, and it appears like it was in pretty good shape, that car's probably going to last you a long time.
Well, that's been the case, knockwood, with ours. We got that Oldsmobile you see sitting out in the parking lot.
Yeah.
Oldsmobile Alero, which we got about 3-4 years ago.
Yeah, and cars are just built better, and I'm not going to say built better, because there's some pretty good cars that were built a long time ago.
Oh, yeah.
But the engine part of it tends to last longer these days.
Well, the thing that's different now is everything is computerized in the car.
Yeah.
So if something goes wrong, half the time you have to take it to somebody who really knows all that computer stuff.
For it. Exactly. Yeah. That's another thing. With cars, they get too many computers on there.
Yeah.
You drive down the road and it just stops on you.
Well, I had an uncle who passed away about a year ago, and he once said to me that he was predicting that we were going to get to a time with the economy where everybody will be either really rich or really poor.
Oh, that's
in other words, everybody will be making a ton of money or hardly any money at all, and there will be nobody in the middle.
That's what a lot of people are saying it's headed towards right now. Is that wealth is building at the top, and we're getting squeezed on the bottom, and that's what this is about too. Is the middle class, so to speak, can't afford these things. You can't afford to pay off debt. If you had to run up credit cards for maybe your furnace broke down or your car broke down,
or just to run them up,
Okay, I'm trying to save to buy a house, and now I got $1,000 car repair bill. Okay, and I had to put that on my credit card.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's an extra $1,000 or whatever that I got to come up with. Emergency savings. If something happens, it'd be nice to have that emergency savings, right? When that car breaks down, so you've got that available. People aren't able to do that. Then retirement is another big one where people can't save enough for retirement.
So they're not retiring, or
I think young people today, the median wage is down from where it was 15 years ago.
Right.
And if you're not able to save for that retirement coming up, that's going to lead to that, what you just said, people working forever. So anyway, when we come back on break, we'll talk some more on things people can't afford, maybe some facts that prove the government dependence is out of control in America.
Yeah.
10 reasons why your home isn't selling. Okay.
Ian McLaughlin and the Small Faces.
The Small Faces.
Small Faces, yeah.
To Ichiku Park, that's where I've been. What did you do there?
Right now, 10 above.
You're never more than a few minutes from a weather update here on Super Talk 1270.
All right. Bobby Keys on John Lennon's Whatever Gets You Through the Night.
Yeah, from Walls and Bridges.
Yeah.
Whatever
with Elton John.
Yeah, 40 years ago. Yeah, 40 years ago,
40 years ago.
this month.
All right.
This album was riding high on the charts. I was in my first year of college.
Okay. All right.
Not doing very well.
Okay.
How things have changed.
Yes, definitely.
I was young and wild. Now I'm old and wild.
Okay. All right. Okay, we're back on Mortgage Talk 101. Dave Floor with Jim Walsh. If you have a question for us about mortgages or anything else, actually, we'll take whatever question you have. 663-1270. Jim, if you're a homeowner and you wanted to sell your home on your own, a lot of people think they can do that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Well, I've got something for you. 10 reasons why your home isn't selling.
Okay.
Okay? All right. First up, a lot of people decide, they think they can sell their home on their own, and a lot of people do. And they can do it successfully. I would recommend to always use a realtor.
Yeah.
And that is, these are my partners in crime in housing with realtors, but they do a great job, and there's good reasons to use them. And I think some of these reasons here why your home isn't selling will point out why you may want a realtor involved. First up, your home is priced way too high. It's like anything else. You always think your stuff is better than the neighbors, right? So like it or not, the market dictates how much you get for your home, regardless of how much you think your home is really worth. So you may have put in a bunch of improvements and everything, and you think, boy, I got, $30,000 extra dollars I put into this house. It should be worth this much. Well, it may or may not be. And that's really where a realtor can really pay off, because they're going to know what those other homes have sold for in the neighborhood that are very similar. They're going to be able to tell you, well, your improvements, while excellent, really are not in line with what the neighborhood is like. So you're limited by how much you're going to get. Second reason, your timing is off. More people house hunt in the spring, summer, and early fall than they do in the winter. Probably around here, that's definitely true. We know that. Although I would say in the wintertime is probably not a bad time to list your house for sale.
Really?
Because there isn't a lot of people are probably going to wait like now till spring to list their home, and you might catch that person out there looking to buy a house in the winter. So not a terrible time to list your house. But it definitely, people are less likely to try and move in the wintertime, especially around here, just because of
the weather's terrible. You don't want to go be running around and hauling stuff in and out of your house.
Yeah. I know the house we bought, we ended up moving in February.
Yeah.
That we're in now. And we actually got lucky and had nice weather. It was like 30s, and it was no problem moving.
I remember when I was in high school and we moved into the house. It was my father's dream house, and he built it. My father was a bricklayer.
Okay.
And he built the house, and we moved in Labor Day weekend.
Oh, okay.
Which was perfect, yeah.
Perfect time, yeah. All right. Buyers can't find it. More and more buyers are searching online. That is definitely true. If your home isn't listed in all the places they're looking, they could be passing you by. So that means you want your home listed on the major real estate sites, and definitely including the multiple listing service locally. So if you can't get your house out there on your own to all these sites, and you're not going to get them on all the sites without using a realtor, you may have difficulty finding a buyer for your home. Okay, here's one. I like this one. Your photos suck. Okay, unless you are a professional photographer, and do it a lot, or like a real estate agent probably has learned and been taught how to take photos in a house and make it look attractive.
Yeah.
If you don't have that knack, buyers are going to want to know, what does the home have to offer, and how do you best present that in a picture, like your kitchen and your closets and all this stuff, your backyard, how it's landscaped and everything. If you don't have a knack for that photography, where a real estate agent's probably done this a few times, so they see what works, and they talk to their peers and see what works. They get training on it, I'm sure, so that helps. So that can definitely turn people away if they're looking online and they don't see that they like something by the pictures. They're probably not just going to ignore you.
Yeah, it's like being a model or an actor and
Exactly.
trying to get away with an old passport photo or something.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, it's like, how many pictures do you see of the celebrities without their makeup or something?
Right,
And, what difference that can make, so it's kind of the same thing, I guess. Your house needs work. Some buyers are willing to take on a project, but the majority of them won't, especially if you're asking the same price as homes that don't need any repairs.
Mm-hmm.
So really the theory there is make sure to repair things ahead of time before you list your house. Definitely to make it look good, or something that really needs to be fixed, fix it. If it's got too much of you in it, people don't want to. They don't want our stuff in there. They want, they're looking at a house. They don't want to see pictures of Jim, or they don't want to see pictures of Dave in the house necessarily, because I don't like that guy. He looks weird. He's spooky.
So do you want the house empty, or do you want it just a little bit lived in?
I think they suggest, and this would be a question sometime for a realtor when we have somebody on, is what should you take out of the house when you're listing the house and it's going to be shown by the agents.
Yeah.
What should you take out? And I think I've always heard a lot of, if you've got a lot of family pictures all over the place, you want to take that out.
I would think
a lot of personalized stuff.
Yeah, I would think what you would want to do is have it so the person can, when he's looking at the house, or she is, they can psychologically picture their stuff in the house, which is hard to do if it's already cluttered with your stuff.
Exactly. Yeah. I got this big, huge picture collage of my family on the wall.
In their mind, they can project their image of what the house would look like.
Right. Put up some generic pictures on the wall probably, and they can at least say, oh, that'd be a great spot for my pictures.
Right.
What they do, what their vision is for things on the wall and whatnot. So I think that's probably the biggest thing, is keep your personal stuff out of there, so people can visualize, as you just said. Okay, and then if you've made weird changes to your house, it's probably not a good thing. Weird changes.
Define a weird change.
Well, let's see. What did they say in the article here? If you've loved, well, this isn't weird. It's just not everybody's going to go for it. If you may have loved the idea of turning your garage into a rec room, but most people would rather have the space for their vehicles and tools. Okay. Converting a spare bedroom into a huge walk-in closet might have been great for you, but some people would rather have the extra room for their kids or guests. If you had a 4-bedroom house and you turn one into a closet, and now you got a 3-bedroom house, and the people that are looking at your house are young families that have got 2 or 3 kids. Okay, we need a guest room. We like to have our kids each have their own bedroom because it's a boy and a girl.
Yeah.
No, we don't have a guest room. Well, that's not a good
People
plan.
to redesign the whole basement for their electric train set.
Yeah, well, there you go, yeah.
There are people like that.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. So, weird things like that, if it's up and there, that could turn some potential buyers off, obviously.
Yeah.
So the theory, I guess, is if you do something weird like that, you got to replace it.
Yeah.
Or add on, more than likely to. So you don't lose that extra storage space or the extra bedroom.
My wife and I, we live in an apartment, but we have an extra bedroom, which right now we just got full of stuff. Yeah. But I would eventually like to turn it into an office/studio for myself.
Yeah, yeah. So, that's.
But if it were a house and I was selling it, you're saying that would be a handicap.
If you had it strictly an office and it couldn't be used as a bedroom.
Oh, okay.
No, in that case, you're making it into an office. Well, you probably got a desk in there and stuff. That probably wouldn't be a problem, because that could easily be, you're going to take that stuff out when
Basically,
you leave.
the only radical change would be I would have to have some outlets installed for my ISDN, my high-speed computer stuff.
And nobody's going to probably squawk about that.
No.
Right, yeah. So, that wouldn't be a big thing, because that's just outlets.
Nothing that would make it uninhabitable as a bedroom.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Probably enhance the bedroom part of it even, for some. Yeah, so... curb appeal needs help. Obviously, you don't want the grass growing 5 feet high and whatnot. Nice landscape, green grass, nice bushes.
Weird animals walking around. Yeah.
We don't need, somebody walking through your yard and they get grabbed by a snake or something. You don't want, so you keep everything trimmed up. Make sure you're, chipping paint around, that sort of thing.
Right.
So, and then, if you're showing the place, if you're selling it on your own, you're smothering your buyers. As much as you may want to see how things are going or be around, To answer questions or offer insights, you need to let your real estate agent handle things.
You do need somebody who has some emotional distance from it.
Exactly.
If you're too invested in it, you're not going to be a good salesperson.
Yep, because if you go in there, say you had put in these nice granite countertops and cabinets in your kitchen, you really liked it.
You put your heart and soul into it.
And you had done the work yourself.
Yeah.
Okay, now you're showing the house to somebody, and it's a couple, and they're just talking amongst yourselves, and you're standing there and say, boy, we really don't like that color of that granite.
Yeah.
Or we don't like the color of the cabinets. We'll have to paint those.
Yeah, they look at it and go, ugh, that's tacky.
And you get offended.
Yeah.
And they come in and they make an offer, and it might be a reasonable offer, but those people are going to change my whole thing.
Yeah.
I don't want to take that offer. So you got to leave. That's exactly right. Is good reason to use a real estate agent is to have somebody emotionally distant from the house itself,
right?
To show it so you're not around when people make comments.
Somebody
like that
who can be objective. Yeah.
Because just think about if you walked into a house, there's things in everybody's house that you would not like.
Yeah.
And if you're looking at the house, you're going to say that to if you're with your spouse or something.
Right.
So, yeah. And the biggest thing is going it alone. Hey, you can save the real estate agent fees if you do it by yourself. But if you go that do-it-yourself route, you could spend a long time showing the place and not come out with anything. So, yeah. All right, folks, we come back our last segment, and we'll talk about there's some higher fees proposed for FHA mortgages. Good thing Joe's not here; he'd be going ballistic.
Oh dear.
Okay, so we're going out on some more faces,
right,
with Mr. McLaughlin.
Yeah, and Rod Stewart.
Right now, 12.
Get the traffic and weather information you need anytime on Super Talk 1270 and online at supertalk1270.com.
Okay, Bobby Keys.
Can't You Hear Me Knocking? Rolling Stones.
Yeah, I like that one.
Yeah.
That's some good stuff there.
Yeah, I mean, they turn the whole song inside out with this little jazzy interlude right in the middle of it.
Yeah. You know what album this is from?
Refresh my memory.
I can't remember either.
Yeah, I'll look it up.
Okay. All right. Okay, folks. Mortgage Talk 101. Dave Floor, Jim Walsh, Joe Sheehan on special assignment. Not here today, so we're doing it.
Hopefully getting a shave.
Yeah, maybe.
Bo's starting to look a little shaggy.
Yeah. Anyway, he's our rock and roll mortgage guy.
Looks like a dang hippie.
Yeah. All right, folks. If you got a question for Jim and I, 663-1270. Jim.
Yeah.
FHA's at it again.
Now what?
Higher fees for mortgages. You know what they want to use it for?
What?
Fix their computer system.
Okay.
Okay. There's let's see, what do we got here? There's a Senate bill. It's actually will probably be voted on here because it's part of the Transportation, Housing, and Urban Development appropriations for fiscal year 2015, which, of course, they need to figure out if we're going to have any money for the government here.
Yeah.
But if it's approved and they reconcile everything, the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development would be allowed to charge lenders an administrative support fee, which would generate an estimated $30 million annually to fund an enhanced quality assurance program for single-family loans. Yeah. It authorizes FHA to charge a fee not to exceed 4 basis points of the original principal balance of mortgages originated by the mortgagee that were insured during the previous fiscal year. So what they're doing here, Jim, is they're proposing they're going to charge the lender the 4% fee based on their originations in the previous year. So the lenders are going to have to factor this into what they charge borrowers when they close a loan with them. So this, even though the FHA can say, well, we're charging lenders this fee to improve it's not the quality assurance program, it's to fix their IT problems. They can say, well, we're charging lenders this fee, we're not charging the consumer. Well, we all know how that works. As we've talked many times before, these mortgage fees get passed down into the mortgage. No, the Mortgage Bankers Association came out with some concerns about this, obviously. The current fee, they say, is retroactive and is calculated using the previous year's mortgage originations instead of new originations. And what MBA says, this will retroactively raise costs on mortgages that have already been originated and insured. Their solution is this should be calculated on a prospective basis, which is probably a good idea. How big is too big of a fee? Well, HUD only sought $30 million for this new program. The Senate Appropriations Committee provided $8 million of the original request through a direct appropriation. And the language in the appropriations bill does not limit HUD to collecting only the remaining $22 million. The legislation allows FHA to charge as much as 4 basis points on aggregate lender origination, which to the MBA is far in excess of what it needs. So that could grow beyond the $30 million if they charge the 4%. And because the fee is not limited only to fiscal year 2015, HUD would be permitted to levy this charge in future years. So this, as far as HUD's concerned, they want to see this be an ongoing fee that's going to be charged. The solution from MBA is if the final HUD appropriation bill contains language authorizing FHA to impose a fee on lenders to fund a new quality assurance program, it should be limited in size, scope, and duration to cover the specific technology improvements needed to implement the program. So cost of getting a mortgage might go up, folks, and don't blame the lender for it. That's the moral of that story. Okay? Does that sound fair to you, Jim?
Works for me.
Okay. Oh, this is like bad news. More bad news, Jim. And this is not in any way good or funny or anything like that, but we had in Detroit, a man has been charged in a fatal double shooting during an eviction process over a foreclosure of a home. This happened over Thanksgiving weekend here. A Detroit property owner tried to evict a man from a home that he had bought during a foreclosure sale. The home had been sent back had been on the block because it had not had its taxes paid. Howard Franklin, 72 years old, and his daughter, Catherine Franklin, were shot and killed Friday at the newly acquired property in northwest Detroit. The Franklins there was a heated argument. The Franklins they had their guns, and apparently so did the people that were living in the house. Everybody was legally permitted to carry guns. Police would not confirm whether there was an exchange of gunfire, but that's kind of like a duh when they got shot. That's what killed them.
Mm-hmm. Panic in Detroit.
The moral of this story is don't try and evict somebody on your own. There is a process for it that involves the authorities, the sheriffs, to evict somebody from a foreclosed home. That is their job. Let them do
their job, yeah.
You can go look at the house. There's somebody living there. Immediately go down and get it done through the court system, and you're just going to have to wait to get into that house.
Yeah.
That's the way it is.
Well, it's like a legal issue. Something like that comes up, you're getting sued. Don't take it in your own hands.
That's the first time I heard of that one.
Yeah, get a professional.
It's probably happened before somewhere, but that's folks. If you're buying a foreclosed house and there's somebody living there, don't try and do it yourself.
Yeah.
You do not know. If you don't know who's
I don't want to
living
be
there,
anywhere near there when they're resolving that.
You don't know the people. Don't go there. Let the authorities do it. They're much better prepared than you and I are.
They have guns on their belts.
All right.
And they know how to use them.
And even, but these folks were legally permitted to carry guns, but the police officers obviously have training how to
on a more serious, more seriously, they're trained to know how to handle it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
All right, Jim, here's some other stuff we got here. 21 facts that prove that government dependence is out of control in America.
Okay.
We got these? All right, here we go. What's the question here? This comes again from Tyler Durden at Zero Hedge. If you could stay home and watch television, play video games, and hang out with your friends all day at government expense, would you do it?
Well, I have. I'm not proud of it, but I have. When I've been unemployed a couple of times.
Yeah, but you're unemployed.
Oh, yeah, between jobs.
You're between jobs. That's a lot of people.
And it's very tempting. I mean, it's very enticing. Once you've done it, you sit there and you feel guilty at first, but it gets a little easier every day for you. And
but, I think you and I would, we'd have a problem doing it long term.
Yeah, you always feel better when you're going back to work.
Absolutely.
I know I do.
Okay, and I think most people that are getting government assistance, there's no abuse being done.
Yeah.
They can't work. They're disabled. They can't work. They just can't get a job.
The SSI people, sure.
plenty of people that deserve.
Yeah, I don't think
assistance
anybody
from
really.
The rest of us.
Even the hardcore fiscal libertarians, it's hard to begrudge those people.
Yeah, I don't think anybody. There's plenty of people that would be happy to contribute to their welfare. Without question, I think. But there's some troubling trends along this line, and that certainly affects housing in this country. The percentage of U.S. population that gets money from the federal government grew by an astounding 62% between 1988 and 2011. So that's a period of 23 years.
Yeah.
Okay? According to analysis of U.S. government numbers conducted by Terrence Jeffrey, there are 86 million full-time private sector workers in the United States paying taxes to support the nearly 148 million Americans that are receiving benefits from the government each month. Okay. So that's kind of sets the stage here. All right. Currently, there are somewhere around 40 million senior citizens in the United States. By 2050, that number is projected to skyrocket to 89 million. So basically double, more than double. Supporting all those senior citizens is going to be extraordinarily expensive. And of course, everybody's talked about that this is happening. It's happening right now. Right now, there are more than 64 million Americans receiving Social Security. The number of Americans enrolled in the Social Security disability program now exceeds the entire population of the state of Virginia. Virginia is a pretty big state. I don't know what the population is, but there's a lot of people that live there. If the number of Americans on Social Security disability were gathered into a separate state, it would be the 8th largest state in the entire country. So that tells you how big Virginia is. Okay?
Yeah.
All right. In 1968, there were 51 full-time workers for every American on disability. Today, there are just 13 full-time workers for every American on disability. So in 50 years, just under 50 years, that number's, there's a lot, what's the right way to say this? There's a lot less full-time workers supporting everybody on disability.
Right.
So that's going to make it harder to keep that up.
Yeah, the math doesn't hold up.
Which I think everyone would agree, that's a program we probably want to keep alive for people that are truly disabled, and we want to help them. I don't have a problem doing that. I don't have a problem paying taxes for that. The number of Americans on food stamps has grown from 17 million in the year 2000 to more than 46 million today. Ouch. That's a lot, too.
And the misconception that these people are extremely poor or they're welfare cheats, not necessarily. A lot of these people are us.
Yeah, well, exactly. Yeah, I mean, we'd probably be surprised how many people. Yeah. Today, the number of Americans on food stamps exceeds the entire population of the nation of Spain. Oh, my gosh. Okay. All right, folks.
Ay caramba.
Next week, we have a guest. We have two guests. They're from the High Plains Fair Housing of the Dakotas.
Excellent.
They will be talking about fair housing as it relates to rentals and single family, everything we got. So we'll have them on next week. Have a good day. Have a good weekend, everybody.
All right.
Thanks, Jim.